was going to show her what revenge really felt like. The night before the hearing, I sat alone in the empty guest room of my house. Emma had moved into the master bedroom with Lucas after I moved out temporarily, claiming she needed to protect our son from my cruelty. The room smelled of dust and disuse, a stark contrast to the warm, cozy home Emma had meticulously maintained for 7 years. But that warmth, I now knew, was nothing more than a carefully crafted facade, a mask she wore to hide the rot beneath. I ran my fingers over the paternity test results, the words exclusion of paternity printed in bold at the bottom, burning into my retinas. For 5 years, I'd loved Lucas as my own, tucked him into bed, read him stories, celebrated his birthdays, only to find out he was a stranger's child. The anger that had smoldered in my chest for weeks now blazed like a wildfire, but I forced it down. I needed to be calm tomorrow. I needed to be in control. Emma had spent weeks painting me as a heartless, ungrateful monster. Tomorrow, I would strip away her mask and show the world who she really was. I picked up my phone and scrolled through the messages from my legal team. They'd sent me a final list of evidence, the paternity test, surveillance footage from the restaurant where Emma had met her lover, a man named Ethan, a colleague of hers from her part-time job at an art gallery, text messages between them discussing their affair and their plans to take my money, and a copy of a bank account Emma had opened in secret, where she'd been transferring small amounts of my money for years. There was also the testimony of our neighbor, an elderly woman who'd seen Ethan coming and going from our house late at night, long after I'd left for work or gone on business trips. She'd always tell me he was a friend from work, the neighbor had told my lawyers, but the way they looked at each other, that wasn't friendship. And once, I saw him carry Lucas inside like he was his own son. That testimony alone would be enough to shake the jury, but combined with the other evidence, it would be a knockout blow. As I put my phone down, I heard the front door open. Emma's voice drifted up the stairs, soft and sweet as always, talking to Lucas. "Daddy's just staying in the guest room for a little while, okay? He's just confused right now. He'll come around soon." I gritted my teeth. She was still lying to him, still playing the role of the devoted wife and mother. I wondered if Lucas knew the truth, if he'd ever noticed that Ethan looked more like him than I did, or if he'd ever questioned why Emma spent so much time on the phone when she thought no one was listening. Part of me felt sorry for him. He was just a child, caught in the middle of his mother's lies. But another part of me resented him, resented the fact that he'd been used as a pawn in Emma's game, a way to tie me to her so she could drain me of my money and my life. I pushed the thought away. Lucas was innocent. The blame lay solely with Emma and Ethan. The next morning, I arrived at the courthouse early. My legal team was already there, huddled in a corner, going over the evidence one last time. "Mr. Carter," said Sarah, the lead lawyer, a sharp-dressed woman with a no-nonsense attitude, "we're ready. The jury is selected, the witnesses are here, and all the evidence is admissible. Emma's lawyers will try to paint you as a jealous, irrational man, but we have the proof to counter every lie." I nodded, my jaw tight. "Good. I don't want any mistakes. I want her to pay for what she's done." Sarah gave me a sympathetic look. "We'll make sure she does. Just remember, stay calm, stick to the facts, and don't let her or her lawyers rattle you. They'll try to provoke you, to make you look like the bad guy."
Full story BIO.